What can we do when we feel anxious? How's everybody doing today? Welcome to my channel, and hope things are good. My name is Thomas, and I do educational videos on various topics, mostly kind of academic and kind of commonsensical day-to-day mundane topics with a spin on them. So much different than what you might get at the public schools in your math or your geometry, your chemistry, your physics, your history, nutrition, gym class, and psychology, and also, once you maybe graduate from high school and you eventually you get into kind of the wellness, meditation, and breathing. All of these things I'm trying to present from kind of a more quantum level, break it down to your fundamentals. So as a result, it is some of the material is pretty challenging, as it requires you to unlearn a lot of things that you learned, or at least to very seriously question a lot of those things. And so that's why for the first few months of the course, I'm focusing on the tree of life, because the tree of life is something that really helps you to integrate various diverse different teachings into your mind, and still be organized, still have a sense of perspective, being able to put things into perspective and to prioritize things. So we're going to study the tree of life and then use that as the foundation to get into these other subjects. So this is the diagram for the tree of life. You may recognize this also as Hebrew Kabbalah, but the tree of life is like the ancient Egyptian version, so it precedes Kabbalah, but it is goes back to at least ancient Egypt, and it's basically what you would think of as a map of our consciousness, or a map of our faculties of consciousness. You can see that it has 10 different circles or spheres that are connected by 22 different lines. These spheres are numbered 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then there is an abyss right here, which is an implied sphere or circle. And then there's a 0 above the tree. Now, these lines are generally, in Tree of Life, they're kind of not numbered or enumerated, and they're really kind of subsumed into this thing here called the abyss. In the Kabbalah, the lines are numbered, and they represent different letters in the Hebrew alphabet. But we don't really pay too much attention here, except for how they fit in with the configuration of the overall diagram. What is connected to what, and things like that. So you can see like the sixth sphere is really connected with every other sphere, indirectly through the 9, but really directly connected to everything. So it's a central point. We'll get into that a little bit later too. Okay, so I'm just going to go through a little rundown on each one of the spheres, and just to give you a little bit of background, and then toward the end of the video we will go through the question that we asked at the beginning. So you can see there's 12 different categories, the 10 circles or spheres plus the abyss and the 0. And then in my teaching model, I break it down to the next level. So I basically take the whole tree, shrink it down 12 different times, and apply it to each one of the spheres. So I break down the 10th sphere into 12. I break down the 9th sphere into 12, and so on, for a total of 144. So those are the minor aspects of the tree, and the 12 are really like the major aspects. If you'd like to get a free copy of my list of the 144 different minor aspects, just click the link in the description. I'll send you out a free copy. It'll help you to kind of follow along if you watch multiple of these videos. It'll just give you a reference point. It's pretty much just a reference to help you. Okay, now the 10th sphere is really like, that faculty of consciousness is really our survival, our instinct. This is our ability to stay alive, our life force. Our life force keeps us alive regardless of whether we are putting anything consciously into it or not. And this is the law of the jungle, kill or be killed, the state of nature, fight or flight response. All of these things go into the 10th sphere. And then the 10th sphere can be inverted and go negative when we start to defile our body or have lust of the body, where we start to damage our own life force through our kind of conscious actions, a lot of times through addictions and so on. We end up kind of damaging our life force. So that's like a negative aspect of the 10th sphere also. Then we have the 9th sphere, which is where the 10th sphere is like our wild animal consciousness. The 9th sphere is like our domestic animal consciousness. So this is what we get when we're growing up in the home, domesticated. And when the first couple years of our lives, we are super highly receptive to our environment. Everything is fascinating to us, and we stare at everything, especially our caregivers, people who are raising us, and we watch intently what they do. And eventually we try to imitate what they do. And usually, we don't have the great muscle coordination or anything of an adult. And so we have to practice over and over again to get these various motions down. This is how we learn to walk, And so you fail over and over and over again, but eventually you keep at it, you keep repeating it, and eventually you learn how to walk. And it's a great accomplishment. But now you take it for granted. You don't even think about it. So that's really what the 9th sphere is about. It's heightened receptivity, imitation, repetition, and then memorization. And the memorization puts the thing down into the 9th sphere, so you no longer have to put any conscious effort into it. And in fact, when you do put conscious effort into it, sometimes you start to screw up. When you start to really pay attention to your walking, that's when it becomes, difficult. Okay, then the 8th sphere, where the 9th sphere is the domestic sphere, the 8th sphere is the public sphere. So this is what you get when you go out into public and you go out, you go to school, you go to church, into public, and you're exposed to the expert opinions and the consensus wisdom about things. You're exposed to what people say, everybody knows that, and the word on the street, and the different belief systems and the different ways of behavior that we're supposed to adopt, that we're expected to fall into, is what is presented by the 8th sphere. And the 8th sphere is where all the institutions are, the establishment is there, and this is where all the resources are. So it presents somewhat of a conundrum. You can't really ignore the 8th sphere, but you have to really take it with a grain of salt, because the 8th sphere is a trickster. It's giving you belief systems and telling you what you're supposed to believe, what is the right thing to do, but it's not necessarily telling you the truth. It's telling you what they want you to think is the truth, and it's also presenting a false consensus. It's presenting a story where it's like everybody believes that. So obviously it's true, and obviously you need to believe it too. But a lot of times that what they're telling you that you need to believe in is goes directly against your own experience and your own kind of common sense. And so, but at the same time, you recognize that you have to get into the A-sphere to get some of the resources. Otherwise the A-sphere will just starve you out. If you don't go into the A-sphere to a minimal degree, they'll just starve you out. They'll punish you and shun you. So you have to kind of negotiate with the A-sphere, but at the same time, keep it in perspective, in proportion, because the A-sphere is just one of 12 different faculties that we have. It's not, but it's being presented as if it's like, the target for success and the be all end all. This is really your whole life's goal, is to get into the A-sphere, and many people take it that way, but I would call that really like a negative A-sphere, where you use so the faculties of the A-sphere are really the belief systems and the rational faculty, logical faculty. And this is like using logical faculty in the upside down, using things like rationalization, circular reasoning, making assumptions, and confusing the difference between actually, experience something and somebody just telling you something, like hearsay. And so when you kind of allow yourself to invert the A-sphere, you can eventually get stuck in the A-sphere. So you have to get into the A-sphere, but at the same time, you move on to the next one. Because that's what we're really trying to do with our evolution, is to open up each one of these spheres so that we have access to all of them. You can open up the A-sphere and you can leave, but you can come back. You can come back when you need to use your logical faculty, but it's not everything. So that's kind of the key point there. So you move along to the seventh sphere, where the A-sphere is about the real world, so-called. The seventh sphere is the imaginary world. So where the seventh sphere, the A-sphere is telling you, how things really are, you see it. You see it personally, and you're like, well, it's not all it's really cracked up to be. I smell a rat, and then so you move over here and you imagine something better. So this is really in opposition to this. This is trying to present alternatives to the A-sphere. So you use your imagination, one of the faculties of the seventh sphere. You also have at your disposal, you have your intuition, which is really asking questions, being curious, and going inside to find the answers. Now, those answers are going to be correct, but whether we translate them or not is a different matter. And so not only do you have to be able to intuit the answers, but you have to be able to verify those answers from intuition for it to be valid. Also, you have your inspiration. People that you've seen who've come before you. Maybe you've seen other people come before you who have kind of bucked this A-sphere, and they've inspired you to do the same. You can see this in a lot of the, psychological experiments they've done, where they have people like kind of in a line, all doing atrocious things to people, including like giving them electric shocks. And they can see that they're doing it, but the person with the white lab coat is telling them to do it. And so they bow to their authority here at the A-sphere, and they just keep torturing this person with this electric shock. But if the experiment is designed so that they put one other person in the line who refuses and say, I'm not doing this anymore, this is crazy. It just takes one person, and then the other people will be like, yeah, what am I doing? This is ridiculous. I can't with good conscience, do this to another person. So the inspiration is really important, to be able to see that other people have come before you, and it empowers you to do the same. It catalyzes you. You also have your creative faculty, your ability to put things together in new arrangements and to put things together in pleasing arrangements, your pleasure principle. So these things all fit into the seventh sphere, along with our creative mission, or our our secret mission in life, which is what we develop by really going into ourselves and discovering, again, using our intuition. And this is opposed to the A sphere, which is kind of like they tell you, you're supposed to be a doctor, or you're supposed to be a lawyer, or all these different conventional aspects that they want you to follow. But here you're individualizing. You're saying, I'm going to be the best version of me I'm going to work hard at it, and I'm going to try to fit in the way that I can benefit this universe or this earth to the maximum degree. And so that is what you start with as you move up the tree. So that's your creative mission, and you use all the other spheres to really kind of develop and harness and harvest that mission. Okay, then at the sixth sphere, you've got what's called your free will faculty. And again, this is at the center of the tree, so it's very centralized. This is really our essence as a human. This is our free will, our ability to pay attention, and our ability to make decisions. So our attention is a vector. We point our attention at something. But unfortunately, we normally are pointing our attention at 8, 9, and 10. These are our lower faculties, and this is what we're accustomed to. This is what we grew up with. And so it's comfortable for us to point our attention at the lower spheres. But we also have the ability to make decisions. So we can change that. We can turn our attention around and focus on the higher aspects of the tree. And that gives us the ability to open up our spiritual evolution. And it also gives us the ability to, it shows that we're able to stand in the face of fear, because fear a lot of times comes from the unknown, and when we turn ourselves around, our attention, and we're focused on these higher spheres, these are not well developed yet, and so we are kind of staring into the unknown, and so we have to really summon courage to be able to do this move. But if we do, then we can point our attention at the fifth sphere, the next highest sphere, which is our sense of justice. And we can take our sense of justice, our ability to be just with one another. And this is really also known as karma. Karma is calibrated based on violence, waste, and violation. So, we are just with people when we don't violate them, when we don't do violence to them, and we don't waste. And you can also be unjust with, non-humans. So, and we don't waste, what is somebody else's to waste, really, or even our own. And so karma is like a mirror. What comes around goes around. As you sow, so shall you reap. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So when we act, we get feedback on our actions. And if our feedback is not up to par, we usually curse karma and blame somebody else. But if we are paying attention, we notice that it was our fault in the first place. If I wouldn't have done this, then I wouldn't have gotten that. And so it's a lesson for us to clean up our behavior, and that will clean up our karma. So karma can become our teacher rather than our adversary. The fourth sphere is similar, where the fifth sphere is about the enforcement of the natural law or the natural order of things. The fourth sphere is about the articulation of that law and that order. And so this comes from the ancient holy books, that give you the creation story, and they situate you with God and put you in a relationship with God. This also has to do with cosmologies, scientific cosmologies, theories of everything that, talk about all the different laws of the universe, the natural laws, chemistry and physics, astronomy, how all these different things fit together in this huge giant symphony, which, the Chinese called the Tao. And so the fourth sphere is really for the cosmologies and the theories of everything, the ancient holy books, and the object here is really a synthesis or syncretism So you're basically trying to absorb and understand as many of these different theories as there are. Like really every civilization has one. All kinds of indigenous people have these different cosmologies, and to really soak them all up and then to use your intuition. Go inside into your heart and understand your own experiences and marinate it on it. Just be able to come to your own conclusions about what makes sense and what doesn't. How do I feel about this? And be able to assemble your own cosmology, really. Okay, so this is the universal faculties: universal law, universal love, and universal language. Okay, then the psychic powers here at the abyss. The psychic powers are triggered by omens or synchronicities, anomalies, recurring names and numbers, things like that that kind of go beyond the scope of probability, outside of a few standard deviations of probability. And you recognize these things, and being able to recognize them is the first aspect of psychic powers. That's our psychic receptivity, the ability to recognize the omen. And then after that, the omen is also giving you a course of action, what you need to do about it. And so to be able to do that is the second part, which is called psychic heat. And that again requires courage. You have to kind of put yourself out there. You have to be willing to be vulnerable in order to follow up on the omen. But if you do, you're tapping into a message, kind of like a secret message or an internal message just for you about, how to unlock some aspect of yourself. Okay, then we got the 3, 2, and 1 that are above the tree. They have to do with our highest aspects, our divine aspects within us, not above the tree, but at the top of the tree. And the 3 is omnipotence, all powerful. The 2 is omniscience, all knowing. And the 1 is omnipresence, all present, all at once. This is really, omnipotence really comes down to really kind of the culmination and fulfillment of our mission, our secret mission in life, our sacred mission in life. We tap into this through mantra, through other sound synchronization, sacred music, sacred dancing, all these different things of harnessing rhythms and sounds. Is how we, the chanting of the mantra is usually chanting of specific sounds of the alphabet. And that enables us to tap our potential. And then at the second sphere, we are able to, this is omniscience or wisdom, our ability to solve problems. And we tap into this through basically being able to shut down our mind, shut off our mind, and allow the kind of the improbable solutions to emerge. When we think, we solve problems, but we only solve like we use the probable solution, and there's inevitably always unforeseen consequences that come from our solving problems here. We solve one problem, but we create 2 more. Here, we solve the problems for good. We even solve other people's problems, and we can or find the solution to other people's problems. They still have to implement it. But then we also can avoid our own problems before the problems even arise. Okay, so what happens is that we shut our mind down to the point that our mind becomes so clear that it's transparent. We can see right through to the core of our mind, to the center of our mind here at the first sphere. The image of the first sphere is the solution to our problems. That's wisdom. But at the first sphere, we're actually, not only are we seeing it, but we're actually becoming it. So we're becoming the first sphere, or omnipresence, or our deepest center, our higher self at the center. And we recognize that what's deepest within us is the same as what's deepest within everybody else. And so we're all unified that way. And so it's a unifying factor. The 0 sphere is above the tree, and this has to do with nothingness and with mystery. because the zero sphere is not part of the universe. It's not like it's above the tree. It's not part of the tree. It's above the tree because it's not part of the universe. But it's in the diagram because it is part of the creator. So the creator has another aspect that we don't know anything about that's not part of the universe. So the creator of the universe had to be somewhere, something, or whatever before the universe was created. And this is kind of what that represents. Okay, now, so those are the 12, major aspects of the tree. Now, to go to the minor aspects, again, we shrink down each one of this, each tree, the tree, and apply it to a different sphere. And so today we're looking at number 52. What can we do when we feel anxious? And number 52 corresponds to the sixth sphere. So this is about paying attention, making decisions, our free will faculty. And then it is the seventh fractal within the sixth sphere. So the seventh sphere is our imagination, intuition, our inspiration, our secret mission, our pleasure principle, and our creativity. So all those things kind of go into this particular number 52. The seventh fractal of the sixth sphere. It's called patience. Stage number 52 is about waiting, doing nothing in the external world when called for by the situation. Standing in line at the co-opted co-op. There are weavers and sheep. There where the weavers and sheep cooperate. The conspirators co-op, checkout. I'm running behind, and now I'm in line at the market, the slow-moving kind. Nothing I can do now but not be in a rush. Nothing to do. Luckily, I took a deep breath and just went inside. I just tried to listen closely and discovered that one of my favorite songs was on the radio, on the store intercom. Made me smile. I hadn't even noticed it until I took the edge off. Took the edge off a little and quieted my chattering mind. I recognized that there was nothing to do then but not be in a rush. I could have felt powerless and lashed out, but hearing that song reminded me that there is always a reason for everything. So instead of stressing out, I began to sing the song in my head and take deep breaths instead. By the time the person in front of me had already checked out, I hadn't even noticed. I completely forgot I was in such a hurry once I changed my perspective. While waiting, stare into the void, or whatever we need to do to relax. Find a magic key to salvage the occasion, one that opens up important hidden messages inside. It does no good to be in a hurry if there's nothing we can do about it. That powerlessness is a message to go inside where there are sixes and sevens to attend to. Waiting is just a pressure that we can withstand. Decompressed for time. We have to not act right now. Focus on long-term plans instead. Cultivate our mission. Spruce up those psychological sixes and sevens. Forget we're waiting and we're not waiting anymore. No hurry, no rush. Things naturally happen exactly when they should. Just be patient. Living in the present tense obviates impatience. Try suppressing our circulating memory, our short-term memory, our electric current, which contains all our deadlines, our internal clock, our internal calendar. The discovery of eternal principles occurs only with patience. Observe that impatience is just a projection of our own propensity for tardiness, for lateness, and for laziness. All right, that is the 7th fractal of the 6th sphere, or, the 6th sphere, 7th fractal, patience, number 52. And we'll have more to say about all those things, but thank you for sticking around to the end of the video. It's kind of ironic because I felt like I kind of have a deadline on these videos. I need to be able to get them in a certain amount of time, and it was ironic that I was feeling like I was being pressed for time, and I was in a hurry to kind of articulate all this because I was worried about the deadline, but it's all about patience. I just needed to be patient and relax, and everything was going to take care of itself. I still have 2 minutes to spare. So thanks for tuning into the video, and you can smash the like button, you can share the video with others, subscribe to the channel, make constructive comments in the comments section. You can go to the description and get that free guide to the 144 fractal faculties, of which this number 52 is one. I will be presenting another one of the 144 tomorrow. And so stay tuned for that. And then you can also donate directly to me through Cash App or Venmo listed in the description. Please come back tomorrow and have a great day. We'll see you then.